Well, I didn't really know what to do with this request, so I know you're Snooker Loopy nuts, so here we go. Might as well, rather than just talking, I might as well try and sing it. So, Snooker Loopy nuts are we, me and him and them and me. We'll show you what we can do with a load of balls and a snooker cue. Pot the red, then screw back for the yellow, green, brown, blue, pink and black. Snooker Loopy nuts are we. We're all snooker loopy. Bum 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 bum.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Snooker Loopy podcast. My name is Tom Mayhew, and I'm joined by my very, very good friend, the fairy, Joe Hannard.
Good evening, Hazel. Good evening, everybody at home. And Hazel is back tomorrow as we're recording this, or today, as you guys are watching or listening to this. The UK Championship begins. We know it's getting close to Christmas. The weather outside's getting a little bit colder, and snooker is back on the BBC. And it's fair to say, Tom, I think both of us cannot wait for basically hearing those dulcet tones of either Dennis Taylor or John Virgo again. It's usually only one of them for these days for the UK Championship, but we will look forward to it nonetheless.
Yeah, it is, as Joe likes to call it, and I like to think everyone at home calls it the start of the proper snooker season. It's the start of it absolutely getting going. It's the Triple Crown, first one of the year, the first one since April when you think of it in terms of Triple Crowns. That's 7 months, or I guess May, the World Championship. I mean, it's still more or less 7 months since the last Triple Crown event, and of course the BBC coverage, which we all know and love, and Judgment Day on the WST live stream and all these things.
Yeah.
One good thing they did do, Judgment Day this year, they had interviews with older players, including translators for players who couldn't speak English, which I think is long overdue, because otherwise it's just weird.
It's just Rob sort of dislocating the shoulder of a very confused young Chinese player.
Speaking of young Chinese players, Joe, I called you the fairy because I found we had a listener get in touch, Ian, who gave me a link to where you can buy, as of recording, the Champion of Champions shirts still. The fairy is apparently the nickname of Bar Yu Lu, the fairy. I will send you the link if you want to have a quick look through these during the pod, Joe.
Thank you very much, Tom. I mean, I'm delighted that you've done that.
If anyone wants to spend £40.49 on a AB of London shirt, that is a possibility.
Oh my! Oh well, Black Friday sale. I mean, play to win. Try your luck. Yeah. Oh, I have to put my name in for that. But yeah. I mean, it's a shame there's not a Ronnie one, isn't it? But what was really interesting this year, Tom, was people were very, very critical of the shirts that the players were wearing. Even though this has been a thing for a couple of years, they were like, oh, it looks a mess. You can't be wearing shirts that look like that for snooker. It looks more like the shootout. This was meant to be the fourth major, blah, blah, blah. Which I found hilarious because this has been a thing for at least last year. I feel like it has been around maybe 2 years now.
Yeah, I think at least 2 years at the Champion of Champions. I mean, which one? That's the question, Joe, because obviously we all know, me and Joe are big fans of Ronnie, but without Ronnie being there, Joe, which of these shirts would you pick? I quite thought Stephen Maguire, he looks a bit Bond, I thought, the shirt.
Quite possibly. On fire. I do quite like X Factor. And to be honest, the Wizard of Wishaw, it looks so girly. It's unbelievable. By the way, Tom, the sizes that this goes up to, 7XL. I've never seen anything go up to anything more than 4 in the past, really. 7XL. I mean, it's fair to say that Stephen Lee is going to be all right getting his shirt if and when he gets into the Champion of Champions. But Yeah, I mean, 40, what a stupid one. Or you can just get lay pay fan.
That was my favourite one. They've got nicknames for 15 of the players, and then Lay Pay Fan. He's just Lay Pay Fan. He's not even got an
I do quite like the magician one, I must say.
You're going to get more Sean Murphy merch, aren't you?
I could well do. And to be fair, you know, if it wasn't Judd Trump, the ace in the pack design is quite nice.
Well, that's the only one I would say that the design actually seems to fit the nickname. I know in previous years the magician had maybe a magic a magician's hat or a rabbit or a wand.
Yeah.
Whereas they've not done that this year. So the only one that
They have got a hat, like hiding behind.
I see. Yeah, they do.
They've got a top hat, but
it's more subtle.
I mean, Mark Williams, I think, gets the reward for the worst one. It looks like an I'm a Celebrity sort of knockoff.
I would love to see Willow go into I'm a Celebrity. He would hate it.
Yeah, I mean, last time we talked about which snookers players would be good as traders. Now, you know, talking about Mark Williams eating kangaroo anus and yeah.
He'd probably like that if it was in his kebab.
Well, he's probably eaten it before in a kebab sometimes. So, you know, I can't imagine he goes to the classiest kebab places in the world.
But yeah, that's £40. I don't know how many people would buy a Lay Pay fan or a 4D shirt.
I want to know if anybody has. That's my question. I mean, I'd love to get in contact with whoever runs this website and find out, has anybody bought any of these shirts? And B, has anybody bought 40? Has anybody bought AB of London? I mean, surely somebody's bought AB of London just for the memes of it, but yeah, it's. I mean, the Thunder from Down Under. What a missed opportunity that one is. And I wonder if the players got any say in what it looks like. Because I'd love to think that John Higgins has gone for the sort of wicked approach of. Because he loves a musical or something.
Yeah, he insisted it had to be pink. He was like, no, I won't have it unless it's pink. Unless they look like a character from Wicked, I won't do it.
I mean, it does remind me of Snooker 19. His waistcoat is bright orange on the back, isn't it? Which is just very odd because I've never seen John Higgins wear anything like that.
John Higgins is low-key just the campest man you've ever met, but only in very subtle. He's very subtly camp, so it doesn't quite make sense.
Yes, he's looking more like he's on RuPaul's Drag Race than the Crucible here.
Or as we like to call it, RuPaul Hunter's Drag Race.
That's a new segment of the show right there, isn't it?
But no, I just thought we should let the fans know if they want, they can get an AB of London Champion of Champions or a Lay Pay fan one with nothing on it at all.
And you know what, Tom? I'm sure they're very, very thankful that you've alerted them to that. So if you do want to buy one, it's on onboardsportswear.com. And there's currently a Black Friday sale of 10% off. You know, I mean, get in while it's hot.
I'm sure they'll see up to 2 sales off the back of this podcast.
Yeah, from me and Tom probably, but yeah. It is our Christmas special coming up soon, Tom, and, you know, there could be a couple of stocking fillers in there.
I don't think stocking fillers are very often £40, 49 pence.
Yeah.
How big's your stocking?
Well, 7XL apparently. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. But there we go, Joe. So that's the thing that Ian sent me. So thank you very much, Ian. Let me know if you do buy any of them or all of them. Do you reckon there's a snooker fan out there who like collects them all like that? They've got every single Champion of Champions thing.
Oh, I can think of a couple of the listeners that might well be those sort of people. I'm not even as big as nerds, snooker nerds as we are, Tom. I'm not sure we would stoop to that, would we?
And this is Joe saying that as someone who did buy a Sean Murphy Masters t-shirt.
To be honest, I quite like wearing that shirt. I do wear it reasonably often, but I also did buy a Stuart Bingham XL card, which
I think
which was about £40, to be honest.
I think we can't judge, mate. I think we have to just go, right, fine, you get your Lepe fan Champion of Champions shirt. Oh, man. But of course, the next event, Joe, which will decide next year's Champion of Champions, the first Triple Crown, the UK Championship. We've just had the qualifiers. They ended yesterday as of recording. Did you follow them much?
I watched little bits and pieces. There was a couple of 147s in there. Obviously, it was really nice that it was all streamed on YouTube throughout the qualifiers, right from round one, actually. And good to see, a decent run of form for some players like Rhian Evans, again, getting more wins on the board. Obviously, Jimmy flying in practice, but out in the first round. Yeah, very, very good to see. And I think it is a strong field that have come out and qualified for the UK Championship. And I'm sure it's created an interesting draw, obviously. I think the gravitas of the UK Championship has almost returned over the last couple of years, with them going back to that tiered system of the draw, making sure that the top 16 are going to be there, and you've just got the two tables going on at the same time rather than the four tables I think they had at one point. Obviously, Judgment Day returning with that coverage with Rob Walker and Ken on YouTube, and I think that is massive for the sport, really, to have that exposure. Apparently, it was record number of viewers for it, which is great.
Yeah, well, and one thing about Jimmy White, of course, he did lose in qualifying to a 14-year-old. And I saw one stat that said that as a professional, I think Jimmy faced Fred Davis once or twice or something. And so his oldest opponent and his youngest opponent on the professional tour were born something like 98 years apart, which is insane. Utterly baffling. Working out in your head. You're just what? What? It's crazy. Utterly crazy.
Yeah, and you can imagine, if Jimmy keeps playing another 5 years, that record could go over 100,
Yeah. I hope it does. You'd be disappointed now to stop now. You need to keep going, don't you? When you've reached 98, you're like, yeah, I need to keep going.
I mean, I imagine Jimmy will probably keep clinging on. I can't imagine they will never give him a wild card. So if he wants to keep playing, he will keep playing. Interestingly, Stephen Hendry made his latest comeback in the 900, which seems to be going to new heights now. We had the Crucible Cup in the 900 recently, which obviously because sort of World Seniors and WST have broken ties. Any player can play for any of the sort of seniors events. I know the 900 isn't actually the seniors, but yeah, they had a strong field, didn't they? The likes of Neil Robertson, Mark Selby, John Higgins, Stephen Hendry playing in it, and Hendry actually got a century in this match, which I find absolutely hilarious.
It does feel like the 900 is kind of picking up the baton that was left by Snooker Legends when they used to do the Legends events before it became a proper World Seniors Championship, when they had just the Snooker Legends things.
Yeah.
And they would go, here's here's Alex Higgins, here's Willie Thorne, here's Dennis Taylor, here's Mark Williams. They would put just anyone who is, whatever they classify as a legend into an event, and it was celebrating the best of the best, which does feel like I imagine some people involved in the Snooker 900 must be the same people, because they have the same contacts.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I think that makes sense. I think, do you know what I mean? We as fans would rather see a mix of Neil Robertson and Dennis Taylor than, you know, with all due respect, seeing Aaron Canavan and Barry Pinches. No
And,
disrespect to
and,
them, but
and Rodney Goggins. Don't forget
yeah,
Rodney
yeah.
Goggins. Yeah.
I think it fully makes sense as a commercial point of view. You
Yeah.
know, I think the seniors, I think maybe there should be one that is for the Rodney Goggins, but I feel like it makes sense to have a separate one that is more about almost a snooker. I'm a celebrity of. Let's just get all the snooker players you remember and do
Yeah.
that, and people are like, yeah, let's do this. So.
Well, I mean, hopefully, if it is something that ends up being popular, could it see the return of a Premier League snooker type situation, which I think would be really awesome if it, went round the country and sort of set up that league system again, and a bit like darts have with the Premier League darts now. I think it would really, really work quite well if you got a mixture of top players and legends. Across when we've got those gaps in the calendar, when there's qualifiers, putting in one of those events there, I think that could be huge actually for exposure of the sport, especially if it's on free to air. And I know they've got backing from, I think, Pluto TV, isn't it? But I think very quickly you'd get some of the big broadcasters wanting to show that actually, because it would, it's only one night of snooker every now and then, which I think would be doable for any channel.
Yeah, well, I think we did see that with, of course, Channel 5 kind of jumping on board the 900 and putting like the 900 Legends kind of events on their channel, and
which I hope comes back for Christmas. I've not seen anything yet, but
I've not yet. But I'd like to. I don't know what their deal is, Pluto with TV, whether
Yeah.
that is separate or I don't really know. But it would be good to see a proper Legends. I definitely think you could do a Legends event around any of the Triple Crown and people would watch it. Because people are so in that snooker mode that if you then said, "It's this event that has Stephen Hendry and Steve," the people would tune in. There's 18 million people who watch Steve Davis against Dennis Taylor. Some of them would still want to watch him again. So why not?
Yeah, those that are still alive, Tom. Yeah.
No. You're gonna lose half our listenership, Joe.
Sorry, Hazel.
Was Hazel alive then? She must have been.
Yes, Hazel was alive, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, as a little girl probably watching it.
Yeah. And little did she think that many years later she would have Dennis Taylor saying good evening to her all the time.
That's what we all dream of.
Absolutely. But I guess speaking of the UK Championship, Tom, shall we do our usual preview of the draw, sort of talk about the big matches and do a little prediction of who we think might win?
Yeah, let's absolutely do that. So we have the draw up in front of us, and the first qualifier in the first match is Judd Trump against Stephen Maguire.
On fire Stephen Maguire, who's won a ranking event this season, got to the final of another, did he? What was it? I can't remember what tournament it was, but he's come back into some form, hasn't he? He might, or it might have been the semi-final actually, semi-final of the International Championship that he got to, which is quite a big tournament. Judd Trump not having a good season at all. Has a new cue, I've heard. Not entirely sure why he's went to a new cue when he's had such success over the last few seasons, but each to their own. Hasn't won a tournament this season. Of course, we've had something like 9 different winners in the first 9 events, or something bizarre. So I guess Judd Trump is in the frame for the UK Championship, but certainly a tough match first up, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of players who've had success at the UK Championship in particular, Maguire's the one you'd want to avoid. He's of all the qualifiers, he's the one where you'd go, okay, he's got form in this event, a former winner. So tricky draw for Judd, really. And I feel like saying that, we'll say that, and then he'll thrash Maguire 6-1 or whatever. You never know. But
I can smell an upset, Tom. I'm going Stephen Maguire.
Well, I feel like we always do this with Judd. We always go for other people when it backfires, but can't help it.
Go on, Tom. You've got to go Trump then. You've got a Snooker 19 box with his face on it somewhere.
In the bin, probably somewhere. It's not. If you're listening, Ripstone, it's not. I've still got it. Don't worry. And no, I'm gonna go. Well, I'll go Judd. Just because it's covering all bases then on the first one.
Okay, so we've already differed, Tom. Already differed. Next up, we've got Si Jiahui, who is somehow still in the top 16. Hasn't really done a lot, has he, over the last year or so? But I guess he's due a decent run, and he's taken on somebody that, again, hasn't really appeared for a while. Obviously, was at the World Championship, played quite well against Luca Brissell early on in the first round. Looked like he was going to win that, but ended up losing. Ryan Day. So an interesting match, that one. It should be a good match. On paper, it looks that way, but could it be one of those that goes quite close because neither of them are in form?
Yeah, it's one of those where I think both of them will be quite happy because Si Jiahui is ranked 16. He's right in the bottom of the top 16. Ryan Day is actually apparently he's only seeded 38 or something like that, which I'm very surprised by because he feels like someone who was recently in the top 16. So I'm a bit surprised to read that on Wikipedia, but that's what it says. And Wikipedia is never wrong. We know that, Joe. No one
ever wrong. Yeah,
so
indeed.
Definitely the truth. So yeah, but I do agree. It's not particularly one where you'd go either of them is a favourite to go far in the tournament, but I'd maybe fancy Ryan Day just because he's warmed up a bit. He's had some qualifiers. Do you know what I mean?
True. Very true.
Give him a slight edge.
I'm going to go for C. But I guess we'll have to see, Tom, how that goes. Speaking of C,
go on.
We've got Ding versus Zhu C next, so that sounds like quite a juicy tie. Hey, I'm here all night, everybody. Anyway, yeah, Ding, obviously a bit of a UK Championship specialist, isn't he? He always seems to go quite well there. Zhu, I've not really seen much of him this season, so
all right, John Parrott.
To be honest, Tom, I think both of us have watched so little snooker this season. We are going to feel like John Parrott at this tournament.
Speaking of which, when are they putting me and Joe on House of Games?
Yeah, well, exactly. Come on, Richard, get on with it. I'm going to go Ding. Just got a feel in there. Tom's scruffling around for something.
No, it's just something that was making the noise. So first edit, whenever this was. First edit. There we go.
It won't be edited, Tom. It won't. Let's be honest, okay. It won't be.
It must have been my Ding Junhui alarm that was going off.
Yes.
Because I'm going to go with Ding. I think Ding is. I feel like Ding still maybe doesn't have the same authority when he plays most players, but I definitely think over the, as Dennis would say, the young Chinese players, I think he does still intimidate them a bit, and rightly so, because he's still a top player on his day.
Yeah, he is, and as I say, he's a bit of a UK Championship specialist, so yeah, I fancy him to get through that one. Next up, we've got Mark Allen versus Scott Donaldson, who hasn't qualified for a big tournament for a little while. So good to see him. Good to see him back. But Mark Allen, you would suggest is favourite there. Again, I think both players will probably be quite happy with that draw. Mark Allen hasn't had a great season. Scott Donaldson will be fresh, just from a few victories in qualifying, a bit like Ryan Day, so he's got every chance. But again, Mark Allen, bit of a UK Championship specialist, I would say. Always tends to go well here. And yeah, I think I've got to back Mark Allen there.
Well, yeah, Scott Donaldson in qualifying was 5-0 down against podcast favourite Stuart Bingham, and then managed to turn it round, win 6-5. So you got to feel he'll be playing with very little pressure after that. He kind of has nothing to lose coming back from that and managing to qualify. Did a very emotional interview with Rob Walker where he said he thought it was his dad who passed away, who he thought was helping him out. So, hey, if he's got powers from the other side, he could beat anyone as far as I'm concerned. But I think you have to go Mark Allen. He's just got the experience, and he's just all due respect to Scott Donaldson, I think he's probably a class above that kind of player.
Yeah. Certainly at the UK Championship stage, where you would imagine most players will be bang up for it. So yeah, Mark Allen for me there. That brings us on to Mark Williams versus Dave Gilbert, which is, I would say, the second, fiery encounter, you would say, after Judd Trump versus Stephen Maguire. It's
Fiery,
it could be an absolute barnstormer of a match, this one, I think.
Did you say that because Steve Maguire's on fire? Is that why you said it was
Yeah,
fiery?
and it's a barnstormer because Dave Gilbert's the angry farmer, so,
Yeah, and of course Mike Williams sleeps with sheep.
Now.
That's a very cheap Welsh joke, I apologise. But David Gilbert, very good player. One of the highest ranked players to qualify, actually. Very few of the players on the cusp actually made it. I definitely saw something that was like 17th, 18th, 19th, 21st or something. You know what I mean? Very few players who were on the cusp of the top 16 made it. So, yeah, Gilbert's 24, Maguire's 25, Slessor is 21, apparently.
Boo.
Zhang Anda, 23. So the highest ranking qualifier is Mr. Slessor. That's fascinating at 21. But yes, Gilbert 24. So he is one of the toughest players. A bit of a unpredictable quantity at Triple Crowns, Gilbert. You seem to occasionally do very well and get to a semi. I just think it's always so risky not backing Mark Williams, especially after the year.
Yeah, and I think Mark Williams is very much due a Triple Crown title at some point soon. He seems to always be getting to the business end of the big tournaments. He has been very up and down this season. Sometimes he's looked unplayable. Sometimes he's really, really struggled. So, yeah, it depends what Mark Williams turns up. But again, you'd expect him to be up for it. And I think, like you, I think he will have just a bit too much for Dave Gilbert.
Yeah, well, because he's been very close the past few seasons. He was close against Judd in the Masters. He was close against, relatively close against Xingtong in the World. So it does feel like he's due one. So
yeah,
I'd like to see him do well.
Okay, so that brings us to Zhao Gudong and Pang Junsu, another all-Chinese affair. And yeah, Zhao, very solid top 16 player now. Pang always seems to turn up for the Triple Crown events, at least, in qualifying for them. Very talented player, but does seem to have lost that momentum that he maybe had a couple of years ago, where it looked like he was going to be the next big player to come out of China. He's stalled a little bit. Some of the players have gone ahead of him, like Wu Yize, who we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, again, it could be a very close match, this one.
Yeah, this is... I think this might be one where I am going to go for Pang to upset the odds, just because Zhao's not a player who's used to being in the top 16 massively. I think it does mean he's a bit less of a imposing opponent, and I do think Pang has a lot of raw talent, and I think he will eventually go deep in a Triple Crown. I don't know whether it'll be this one, but I do fancy him to be too much for Zhao.
Yeah. I'm gonna back Zhao because I think he really has become such a solid player. He's reliably getting towards the back end of tournaments quite regularly now. So I'm gonna go Zhao. Okay, so moving on, Wu Yize, who's fresh off winning the International Championship. We actually talked about that in the last episode, didn't we? Of saying what we were saying about the best player not to win a ranking event could be out of date very quickly, and it was the case. Wu Yize managing to get over the line there, but another first-time winner, Jack Lazowski, isn't going to be in the tournament, which is it just shows how crazy snooker is, doesn't it? And quite unbelievable, really. But he's taken on Michael Holt, who obviously had a few years off the tour, seems to be getting back somewhere near professional standard, I would say, of trying to get into that top 64. Wu Yize full of confidence. I know lots of people think very highly of Wu Yize. Steve Davis in particular sings his praises, and I'm sure he will mention it tomorrow that he's excited to see him. I think he'll have a bit too much for Michael Holt at the moment.
Yeah, that's just one where I do feel like I'd be very, very surprised if it's not fairly one-sided in Wu Yize's favour, just because I think Michael Holt is a decent player, but there's a reason that Michael Holt has been a professional and not been a top 16 player, but Wu Yize already has at such a young age. It just means that I think it would be a big surprise if Holt won. So I think it just makes sense to go for Wu Yize.
So both of us going for Wu there. Next one, interesting one. Julien Leclerc getting into sort of the television stages of a big tournament for the first time on the BBC, which is really good to see because he's been around for a good few years now. Obviously had a memorable run in the shootout a few years ago. He's taken on Neil Robertson. Now, Neil Robertson seems to be back to his best. He is getting towards the back end of tournaments on a regular basis again. He's knocking in loads of centuries again. He does seem to be back to that really intimidating force on the table, which is great for snooker because Neil Robertson is such a top player and obviously one of the very few players to be from overseas to win the world title. So great to see him back to his best. And again, another sort of UK Championship specialist, I would say. He's always gone well there.
Yeah. Well, of course, Leclerc is from Belgium, where Bruxelles is famously from, and so it is another slowly become a bit of a hotbed of snooker in Europe. We've got Bruxelles, we've got Leclerc, we've got Ben Mertens. So
Ben Mertens, yeah.
A few rising players from there, but he's very young, Leclerc. He's only about 20, 21, I think, 22 maybe. And I would be very, very surprised if Robertson doesn't win fairly comfortably, just because the experience of Robertson, he's been at the top end of tournaments probably as long as Leclerc's been alive. So yeah, I have to go for the Thunder
The Thunder from Down Under. Yeah, I agree. Neil Robertson to win that one quite comfortably. Right, okay. Next, we have got Kyron Wilson, who, of course, had a very, very good season last year. Hasn't got off to the best of starts this season. I think won in Shanghai, but that's the only tournament that he's really performed in so far. There's quite a few people backing him to win this tournament out of the blue, and I guess, you know, depending on the run that he can get on, it's always a possibility. But yeah, Kyron not at his best this season, taking on somebody who seems to be coming on leaps and bounds, actually, getting to the business end of tournaments more and more often. Seems to be knocking on the door of winning his first ranking event, actually. So yeah, Elliot Slesser, Kyron Wilson. I think this is a tough one to call, actually.
Well, Slesser is a very interesting player. He's kind of, you know, in terms of how he plays, he does remind a lot of people, I think, of the likes of Ebden. You know, those players who...
Just because of his bald head?
Yes, because his head looks like a cue ball, so people go, ah, it must be a young Peter Ebden. Yes. Well, no, but I was meaning more. He's the kind of grinder. He's the kind of, you know, player who doesn't mind if it takes him ages. I think he's a player.
He's a misery guts, is what you're saying, Tom.
I'm sure there's a YouTube video of him playing on when he needed 8 snookers or something stupid like that. He's that kind of player who he doesn't care if people hate him, if they think he's boring. He just wants to win. And there's not enough players like that nowadays. And it feels like he could be the new, you know, big player to fit that mold. And of course, he did famously use that mold against Joe Hannard in a tournament, which does mean Joe's probably slightly biased.
Yeah, of course, of course.
But do you know what? I'm going to go for Slesser, mate. I'm going to go for Slesser, as much as it will upset you.
It does very much upset me because, to be fair, I think Kyron, in the sort of absence of Ronnie in most tournaments these days, Kyron's very much sort of become my favourite player now to watch and sort of support, along with big old Smurf 360. But yeah, it's I've got to back Kyron here. I think he's due a turnaround in his form. I do think he's in trouble. If he gets through this first round, he's on for one. A little bit like in the World Championship, actually. I think had he beaten Lei Pei Fan in that first round, he'd have went very close to defending his title, I think. He's one of those players that if he can get through the first couple of rounds, he really grows into a tournament. So I'm going to back Kyron, but I think it could be 6-5. And I think that's the only reason that Elliot will lose that match, because I'm not sure about Elliot's bottle, to be honest, under pressure.
Wow. And what was the score when you played him, Joe?
18-3 to me.
He wouldn't need much bottle
for half a frame. For half a frame.
What was the final score?
I think it was 3-0 to Elliot, I think.
Okay, well, he doesn't need as much bottle then to win 3-0, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, he was also 16 and I was 11 or something like that, but, you know, we'll gloss over that fact.
What a bully,
He's a bully.
Elliot.
He's a bully. Yes.
Picking on 11-year-old.
I will always remember, Tom, that because it was such a shambolically arranged tournament. So this was in Sunderland, in Riley's, back in 2011-ish. So I wasn't 11 then. I was 14, but, you know, ish, 13. It must have been earlier than that. It was around 2011. Riley's in Sunderland, and we were just sort of told to go and play on a couple of tables. There was one other person at this tournament, and it was randomly decided that Elliot would get a bye through to the final. So I had to play the other guy. Obviously beat him, got to the final. And I don't even think they won quite full-size tables. But we obviously had a referee between us. You know, I had to pick out the balls for Elliot Slesser. He had to pick out the balls for me on occasion. And I distinctly remember that he asked, because there was one where I respotted the pink and it was quite tight for him to get through to the next red. And he goes, "Oh, can you respot that pink, please?" So he was a misery guts back then, Tom. He was a misery guts back then.
It's all coming out now when he's.
But he also had a full head of hair back then. He doesn't now. So, yeah.
But Joe, you have a lovely head of hair, so I think you
exactly.
won.
I did win in some ways, Tom, didn't I? I did win in some ways. And also, let's be honest, Elliot doesn't possess a video of Sean Murphy going, "Screw back for the yellow, green, brown, blue, pink and black."
Well, we presume he doesn't have that video. I have no idea what's in Elliot's personal laptop. I don't want to presume what he's got.
Yeah. Well, with what we're finding out about snooker players of late, you know, one can never assume. So, yeah. Anyway, swiftly moving on to another one of the Northeast Terriers. And David Lilly qualifying for the UK Championship, which is amazing. That, you know, he's going to be playing at a Triple Crown tournament and in the final stages on the BBC and playing Barry Hawkins, which, you know what, I think it's going to be a good match, actually.
Yeah, well, I think I've said before how I feel like a lot of sports makes a massive thing about young players coming through, like, oh, this 15-year-old playing for Arsenal, or... You know,
David Lilly playing for Arsenal.
I'd love to see David Lilly play for Arsenal, but I think what David Lilly is, he's quite a nice story of someone who he turned pro late in his career. He turned pro in his 40s, and he's reached the TV
flourishing into his 40s, as Rob Walker would say.
Well, he's 50 now, Joe, and he's going to play at a Triple Crown on the TV tables for the first time in his life at the age of 50. And I think, Joe, you know, as someone who never turned pro in their early years, then turned pro in a later age, I see a bit of Joe Hannard around this.
You think I've got to take inspiration from David Lilly, do you?
I think
you know what? He is an inspiration, though, because even though I'm obviously a lot younger than David Lilly, I guess it does give all of us a bit of hope that sometime, with a bit of good practice and the right circumstances and Q school falling the right way, that anybody can be a professional snooker player. And it is a great story, and I do hope that the BBC sort of make a big deal of it, and I'd love them to go up to South Shields Snooker Centre and do a little bit of a feature on David Lilly. That's just a little bit of a hope, and, you know, see where I learned to play snooker. But you know what? Just for the feel-good factor, I'm going to back David Lilly. The South Tyne... No, the Tyneside sausage. He's not from South Tyneside, but he works in South Tyneside, so he can be a Tyneside sausage. That's what he can be.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to go for the Lilly sausage as well. I think it might be him versus Slesser in round 2. And it'll be a real...
the derby, yes.
Yeah, real northeast. Are they both northeast? Northeast derby?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It'll be like Newcastle versus Sunderland all over again.
Absolutely. Okay, so next we have got Mark Selby, who again has had a good season, to be honest. He won in the last ITV event for a while in the Champion of Champions, having never won an event on ITV before. So good to see him back in the winner's enclosure. And he's taken on Lei Pei Fan, who, of course, won the Scottish Open last year. Has had a couple of decent results, actually, since then, notably in the World Championship. Also won in the Champion of Champions against Sean Murphy, I think, who's had a good season. So this could be a good match, but again, lots of people backing Mark Selby to go a long way in this tournament.
Yeah, naturally, I feel like you have to say Selby, even though I kind of hope Lei Pei Fan does well, because I just feel bad that he's not got a nickname. I just think he really
if
bad
he goes well in a BBC tournament, Rob Walker might actually christen him.
Yeah. Oh, what do you think? Unless we should try and think of one now. Get in there first before Rob Walker. But it's not. I mean, it's not. Yeah.
It's the Lay of the Land Pei Fan.
That's probably better than what I was thinking, which was Princess Leia Pei Fan.
Princess Leia Pei Fan. I love that. Goes quite well with Fairy, that as well, doesn't it?
That's why Rob was a professional, Joe. Do you know what I mean?
He'll pay for the first round. It's Lei Pei Fan.
Oh dear. Lei Pei Fan mail.
Yes, Lei Pei Fan Zhen Yi mail. Yeah. Anyway, Mark Selby is who I'm backing, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm backing Selby. I think the confidence of having a nickname will just see him over the line. That'll be the deciding bit. Because Lei Pei Fan will look at Selby and he'll go, "Oh, I've not even got a nickname."
Yeah, he will. He will.
He was so sad. He just won't win.
Then we've got the big one, Ronnie O'Sullivan, who, has played all right on and off when he has appeared this season. Obviously didn't have a good time of it in the most recent tournament. I think went out quite early on, didn't he? In Northern Ireland, was it? I can't remember what. There's so many tournaments these days. Or was it one of the Chinese tournaments, actually? He went out quite early, but either which way. He's taken on Zhao Yulong, and a couple of years ago, Ronnie and Zhao played in the first round, and I believe Ronnie beat him 6-5 and then went on to win the UK Championship that year. It might have even been the Mr. Q UK Championship a couple of years ago. So, yeah, I mean, how do you see this one going? It's tough to call, I think.
Well, I mean, I've just looked quickly at Ronnie's season so far. So he didn't take part in the Championship League, the final of the Saudi Arabia Masters, withdrew from Wuhan Open, didn't take part in the English Open, withdrew from British Open, quarterfinals of the Zhao Grand Prix, didn't take part in the Northern Ireland Open, which is quite surprising. And then it was the International Championship where he lost in the second round. So he's only played 3 tournaments, which does mean it's quite hard to gauge an average based on that. But it was a final, a quarterfinal, second round. Of course, everyone knows Ronnie's record at the UK Championship. Everyone knows Ronnie's record in the first round of Triple Crown events. So I feel like it would be very silly to bet against him.
It would. Very much would. He can be a silly man. I think Ronnie will be quite happy that it's Zhao Yulong he's playing. I think there's some, if it was a Stephen Maguire, if it was an Elliot Slesser, for instance, maybe I'd have been more worried. I mean, Zhao Yulong is a very good player, but it's somebody that Ronnie's got a very good record against. I tell you what, though, he won't fancy having to play Mark Selby in the next round, so that might put him off. But
are you saying he might lose? He'll lose to Zhao just to avoid.
I wouldn't put it past Ronnie, to be honest. But yes, I'm going to back Ronnie. I think he's got to win a tournament at some point soon. He's played some incredible snooker at times, even in the World Championship when he hadn't played for so long. And maybe this could be the tournament that just sparks the fire again. But I tell you what, it will be a tough run if he ends up winning this tournament, because it's looking like the likes of Mark Selby in round 2, potentially Kyron Wilson in the round after that, and then potentially the likes of Xing Tong or Murphy, Higgins in the semi-final. And that's before potentially somebody like Judd Trump in the final. It could be the most difficult run that anybody has ever had to win a Triple Crown if he did do it. Well,
if anyone can know, Joe, it's the Rocket, right?
Yeah, you would say so. I think he hasn't had so many statement victories against top players of late, and I think that is the one big question mark I've got against Ronnie at the moment, is maybe his lack of match sharpness is catching up with him when he's playing the very top players. That's when he seems to get found out more often than not.
Yeah, I agree, but I do feel like, I also agree with the fact that Zhao Yudong is a player who's, never really been up in the top 16. I agree with you that if he'd been drawn against someone who was either a trickier player or a former top 16 player, even if Bingham qualified or something, someone like that would be a bit more of a threat. Whereas I think someone who's never been consistently in the top 16, I just feel like Ronnie's always the strong favourite for me.
Yeah, absolutely, especially on the Triple Crown stage. So yeah, I think we both back Ronnie there. Moving on, we've got John Higgins versus Ben Wollaston, who of course got past Mark Selby in the World Championship. John Higgins, again, bit of an up and down season, but seems to be coming into a little bit more form of late. Of course, got the final of the International Championship. Again, I think he will be quite happy that it's somebody like a Ben Wollaston that is playing and not a Stephen Maguire type player. So I'm going to back John Higgins in that one, I think.
Yeah, Ben Wollaston is a kind of player who's probably been on tour for about 20 years, and I can't remember him ever beating a class of 92 player. Do you know what I mean? He's not someone who, if he did win, Rob Walker would go, surely that's the biggest result of your career. So I think that means it's very unlikely. I think you have to go Higgins. It's just a sensible pick. As nice as it would be to see someone like Wollaston have a good run, I just can't see it, sadly. I'm sure his wife might referee the final, but
yeah.
That'd be something.
There'll be one Wollaston in the final.
Tatiana Wollaston.
Tatiana.
I didn't say that in my life, but I wish he did. There's Ben in watching Tatiana.
Ben. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. We have got the big Smurf 360 taking on Liu Haishan. And Murphy again, playing really, really well this season. And, obviously won the Masters in January. Didn't do as well in the World Championship as I think most people were expecting him to. Won the British Open incredibly easily a few weeks ago. I can't see him not winning that first round match unless he's commentating, I suppose.
Yeah, Liu Haoshan is a very interesting player because he's been a professional since he was about 16, I think. So it feels like he's been on tour forever, which he kind of has. But he's still only 27, which is relatively young.
Wow.
For a snooker player, he still could break through, but he's not yet shown the talent.
He's not pushed on. Yeah, a bit like Pang or a Jawi that they've not necessarily pushed on to that next level just yet.
So yeah, is whether he can find that. And yeah, I have to go for the Smurf 360, as everybody lovingly calls him. And I hope if anyone's going to the UK Championship, when he does that 360, I want you to shout, Smurf 360!
Go on, Sean. Go on, the Smurf.
Put that red and screw back.
So yeah, we will back Sean Murphy for that one. On to perhaps the lowest key match of the whole draw. Gary Wilson, who again is somehow still in the top 16. He's taken on Zhang Anda, who's just dropped out of the top 16. Yeah, interesting match. Both again will be happy that they're playing each other, I think.
Yeah, they're both players who, as you said, if you asked me where they're both ranked, I would say around 16. But I would have no idea whether either of them were top 16, really. I'd have no idea whether either of them could be 25, because they're those players who I feel like they're, with all due respect, I think they're... Sorry?
They're cuspers.
Cuspers. Oh, what a lovely phrase. I love that. Yeah, they're cuspers, as Joe famously says. They're players who are cuspers, who they do jump into the top 16 if they have a good run at a single tournament. So when they've won a ranking title or reached a final, they are suddenly up there in the top 16. But as they're cuspers, even when they're in the top 16, I still don't feel like they're as intimidating or as worrying to draw for a qualifier.
Yeah.
That's why they, we'd often bet against them in the first round of the World Championship, because we go, they're just
absolutely
cuspers. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not.
I mean, by cuspers, I'm talking Gary Wilson, Chris Wakelin, Jack Jones, Ali Carter, Bingham, Slesser, but it will become a cusper, I imagine. Lizowski is a cusper, and there Dave Gilbert, Tom Ford, Vafai, all of these are great cuspers, aren't they? I'm going to back Zhang Anda just because he's had the extra match practice in qualifying, I think.
Well, I think in the battle of the cuspers, I think that I might go... I've already backed two people from the Northeast, so I can't really go for Gary Wilson as well. So I'm going to have to go for Zhang Anda. Otherwise, for some reason, I'd be the one with the Northeast bias, even though Joe's the one from South Shields. Makes no sense, but there we go.
It makes no sense at all. But yes, that brings us to the final first round match then, which is, of course, the world champion Zhao Xintong back on the BBC for the first time since his triumph back in May. And again, the draw's been quite kind to him here. He's taken on Long Zhuang, who, again, making his debut on the BBC television cameras. John Parrott will have never heard of him. He's ranked 54 in the world. I believe that is the lowest ranked player in the draw, other than maybe Michael Holt. I think Michael Holt is 64 in the world. So, I mean, you would back Zhao Xintong, especially because he played quite well in recent tournaments, including the Saudi Arabian tournament, the 167 Golden Balls tournament. Jasper Carrott was there himself to present Zhao Xintong with the trophy. And even Naughty Amanda made an appearance, actually, from Golden Balls. So,
what a reference that is.
Yeah. So, Zhao Xintong, I think, is who I'm going to back there. It's fair to say.
Yeah, and it does feel like almost a whole lifetime ago. But of course, Zhao Xintong did win the UK Championship before his ban and then before his return.
Yeah. So he returned last year, didn't he? Played Sean Murphy at the UK Championship last year. I think lost 6-5, perhaps. But yeah.
He's He's not going to be, he's not going to feel any pressure. He's not going to feel any sort of worry whatsoever. I think as a world champion, former UK champion, I don't see Long putting up too much of a threat.
Would you say, Tom, he's a bit of a long shot?
I would, mate. I would. Yes,
I sure hope his long pot success is quite high as well.
John Parrott's listening. He'll be picking up on these. He'll be using them.
He will. Hello, John, if you're listening.
As will Dennis, I'm sure. Oh, he's a bit of a long shot. This player.
Yeah, he's a bit of a long shot specialist. It's time for a long special. Right. Anyway, we've done the first round. Speed run time, Tom. Tell me your 8 round 2 winners.
Okay. Judd to beat Ryan Day. Ding to beat Mark Allen. Pang to beat Williams. Just because I think there will be a surprise. Wu to beat Neil. Slesser to beat David Lilly. As sad as I am to say it, I just feel like Slesser's slightly more, seems to be a more consistent. I think Ronnie will beat Selby, and then he'll face Slesser, and he'll be like, for God's sake, another one of these players. I think Sean will beat Higgins, and then I think Xing Tong will beat Zhang Anda.
Okay. I've got Maguire to beat C. Ding to beat Allen. Williams to beat Zhao Gudong. Neil Robertson to beat Wu Yiza. Kyron Wilson to beat David Lilly. Mark Selby to beat Ronnie O'Sullivan. Sean Murphy to beat John Higgins. And Zhao Xintong to beat Zhang Anda. So, I mean, what an 8 that would be if that ends up happening.
Straight away, Joe, in our competition between me and you, we've both only picked Zhao Xintong, and Sean Murphy. So it's going to be one where whoever wins is going to probably be based on...
Yes.
If one of them wins, it'll be very close. But otherwise, the rest of them is all completely different.
Right, so I will speedrun my quarterfinal. I'm going to go Stephen Maguire to beat Ding Junhui. Robbo to beat Williams. Wilson to beat Selby. And Murphy to beat Xing Tong. Which means that there'll be a nice sausage battle between Kyron Wilson and Sean Murphy in the semi-final.
Oh, that's not a mental image I thought I was going to have tonight, Joe.
Oh, dear.
Okay, my quarterfinal. I think I'm going to go Ding to beat Judd. Pang will beat Wu, and it'll be a surprise run to the semis. Ronnie will beat Elliot, and I'm going to go for the Smurf 360 to beat Zhao Xintong.
Okay, semi-finals?
Well, somehow I've managed to go Ding versus Pang, which seems like madness, but it's happened. It's happened. I fancy Pang. I just fancy he's going to go on the run. And I always do this. I always back an underdog who I think is going to finally break through, and they never, ever do.
They never ever do. Yeah, I think Pang's more likely to have the runs than have this special run.
Genuinely, I think I did a Crucible prediction in about 2021 where I predicted the final to be Stuart Bingham against Xing Tong. And at the time, people were going, oh, that's madness. But I was just ahead of my time. Do you know what I mean? Xing Tong
of course. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking the final will be Pang against Smurf 360.
I'm backing Robbo to beat Maguire. And I am going to go for the Smurf to beat Kyron Wilson in the semis. And I'm going to back Neil Robertson to win the UK Championship.
Well, I will. And I'm sure, genuinely, I'm 100% certain this is just because of this podcast that I'm backing the Smurf 360 to win the UK. Never before would I have backed him, but now I'm going for the Smurf 360, Joe.
It is amazing because I think before we did this prediction, I don't think you'd have said Sean Murphy. I don't think I'd have said Neil Robertson. But that's how great these predictions can turn out. That you just end up with a random player winning it. I mean, you more than others because you'll end up with David Lilley in the semi-final, you know, of the World Championship. But
I'll get there one day.
Yeah, he's flying in practice. But yeah, there you go. Obviously, by the time you're watching this, event prediction will be closed. But do let us know what your predictions are down in the comments. And obviously, if you want to get in touch, then email us at snookerloopypodcast@gmail.com. And to be honest with you, Tom, I think we've reached a nice length of this podcast. I don't think we need any of our usual segments, actually. I think it's been a nice podcast.
Do you know what, Joe? I think you're absolutely spot on, and especially with people having, they'll be spend so much time watching the snooker coming up. I think we don't need to make this any longer because they've got enough snooker fun to enjoy. So
absolutely, and we've got some exciting podcasts coming up. Of course, we've got our annual shootout preview coming up very, very soon, and then our Christmas special, which is going to be exciting. So 2 more podcasts to enjoy of 2025, and then who knows what will happen next year. You know, we always have grand plans, but I do think 2026 could be a big one. Obviously, I'm going to the World Championship final next year, which is very, very exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah, hopefully Tom will manage to get up there as well to La Crucible.
Yeah, maybe too. I think we need to make sure we have some Good Evening Hazel merch ready for the final, so you can have a T-shirt with it on, just in case the cameras pan to you at some point. I think that'd be beautiful.
Good evening, Hazel. Yes, no, that would be great. But yeah, let us know who you think is going to win the UK Championship, and
comment below.
Yeah,
comment below.
Who's going to win? Who they're going to play in the final? Is anybody back in Pang to get to the final out there? Anybody? The silence is deafening.
He's only back David Lilley. Do you know what I mean? And now David Lilley will get to the final, and I'll feel like I've betrayed him.
Yeah. Okay, Tom.
He won't get.
Right, anyway, get in touch on the usual channels down below, and of course subscribe. We are very, very close to 500 subscribers. It would be nice if this video is what tips us over the edge with our UK Championship preview. Enjoy the snooker on the BBC over the next week or so. Lots and lots of sporting events coming to their climax very, very soon as well, with Formula One World Championship, all very exciting. BBC Sports Personality of the Year, you know, the thing everybody's talking about. Is Ronnie O'Sullivan going to win it this year, Tom?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think he will finally win it if he wins his 8th world title.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah. But and the darts is coming up as well. You know?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah,
so it'll be time for the annual Captain Goodspeed PDC Darts World Championship playthrough, probably.
Look forward to that. Subscribe to Joe's YouTube if you've not already.
And yeah, I think hopefully, fingers crossed, we've managed to do the collaboration thing with this podcast, because that's what we're planning on doing, to sort of have it appear on all of our different channels. So if you've come from one of the other channels, please subscribe to the Snooker Loopy podcast channel, because we do post some silly things on there as well that are non-podcast related, so snooker related things, whether it be in real life snooker or memos that we've spent too much money on, or you know, for example, when I was at the World Championship last year, I posted a shot of the moment Mark Allen put the 147 in. And I am still trying to find archive footage of the old BBC segments, and we always re-upload those during the World Championship. So there's lots to enjoy around here. And obviously big plans over the next few years to to keep making the fun sides of snooker apparent, because that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be at least something we find during the UK Championship. So there'll be something else coming up there, I'm sure, at some point.
Absolutely. But yes, leave a like if you enjoy, and we will see you for our shootout preview very, very shortly. Enjoy the UK Championship.
Start of the UK season, snooker fun stuff.